Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Verses. I'm Phillip, and I'm happy to see you all here again on another episode of our show. This episode, we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Recently, we've been talking a lot about love, relationships, angst, fear, that sort of thing. But we haven't really talked a lot about the arts, which is part of the idea behind the show. Therefore, today we are going to talk about writing. Maida and I are both writers, so we thought that was a good place to start. Before I really get into my segment, I would like to share a poem with you that'll hopefully get us all in the mood. So this poem is called Our In-Between. Children are we of delicate romance, good and evil be together in dance. Us not good, we not bad, middle stood of neither hand, a little left, somewhat right, always a test, struggle and fight. Truth be told, reality seen, life unfolds in between. Few are better, some are worse, each a debtor to human curse. None an angel, a devil none, every angle come undone. Saved by love, alive in grace, under the dove, above the waist. Beware the tumble, learn from youth, honest and humble, live your truth. Thank you for listening to that, and I hope it helped you get into the mood for the discussion about writing. One thing to say before I really get into it is I'm an independent author, which means that I'm really a one-man show. I do everything from create the idea to write it down to edit it and publish it and promote it, market it. So I have had experience with every facet of writing and editing and publication. Some of you may have read my recent book series, the Chronicles of Ice series, which has been quite popular and gotten some good reviews. So that's my experience with this and what I bring to the table. Now, that being said, if you are a beginning author or interested in becoming an author, the first thing you need to do is endeavor to persevere. You're going to have to struggle. There's no other way to say it. Writing is a little bit of a masochistic exercise. Some would call it a mental illness. It's hard. You're going to have a lot of naysayers and critics out there. You got to look past that and you got to follow through. You just have to have the belief in yourself and the passion for your art to keep going no matter what. And that's rule number one. That is the basic starting point. Take it from there. The second thing you need to do is make sure that you have a well-defined personal philosophy. The reason I say that is you can't write just for writing's sake. You have to actually have something to say. You have to have a story to tell. For that to be true, there must be some personal philosophy behind you that drives you and pushes you. If you don't have that, then you need to get it. That's the first thing you need to work on before you write anything down. Definitely work on that. The third thing that I'm going to throw in there is that I see a lot of beginning and aspiring authors make three basic mistakes. Mistakes that I made in the very beginning, but I don't do anymore. The first one is word count. Forget about the word count of your book or your essay or whatever it is. Word count is a bit of a red herring, and I'll tell you why. You say what you have to say, no matter how long it takes you to say it. The idea is for your thoughts and your story to be complete. If you start worrying about word count, you start adding things that are unnecessary and sometimes distracting from what you really want to say or from your original story. So my advice is forget about word count. Ignore it. The other part of that is number of pages. Everybody talks about number of pages. And they see it as how many pages you wrote determines how good your book is. That's wrong. That's false. And I'll tell you why. You can have 500 pages of garbage versus 100 pages of awesomeness. That's really how it works. So don't worry about number of pages. I got into this big fight with a publisher about number of pages. And that fight is the reason that I am an independent author. Because I'm not going to go through that again. Because I respect myself and I respect my art. It would have resulted in me having to add a chapter or two that had no reason for being and didn't really make sense to the story. But the publisher didn't care about the story. They cared about number of pages because that affects their income somehow. So forget about number of pages. Don't dwell on that. The other thing I'm going to add to this point is grammar. I know that sounds weird to say, and a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy to say grammar as something you should ignore in the beginning, because we are talking about the written word. But for me, grammar, sentence structure, things like that, those are things that I worry about in the editing phase. When I edit, I think about that. But in the beginning, when I'm just writing, pure writing, I ignore it because my focus has to be on the story. What am I trying to say? What is the point of this work that I am doing? I mean, even if it's fiction, what do I want the readers to get out of this? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to see in their minds? That's the focus. So don't get stuck in grammar at the beginning. Save that for editing. That's just a little word of wisdom from experience. Beyond this that I have already said, I would say that you really need to think about your story. It's just story, story, story. That is the word of the day. What is your story? Who are your characters? Where are they? All those sorts of things. Who, what, when, where, why is the main thing that you need to think about. So once you have done that, I mean, then you're good to go. to be honest. Those were all the main things. You know, some writers would disagree with me. They would usually be technical writers. I'm not a technical writer. I'm a creative writer. So I'm really talking to my creative people out there. This is for you. Um, really just focus on the story. You know, use your gut, use your instinct. You know, you have to have a feel for it. Many professions require education, certification, something special to show that you know what you're doing. Writing's a little bit different. Um, I know people that have studied writing up to the PhD level, and they're terrible writers. I know people that didn't finish high school, and they're wonderful writers. So different rules apply. So don't get stuck in degrees and courses. There's a lot of philosophy and art, pure from the gut art to it. Now, another side of writing that I think is important to talk about is what I mentioned earlier about naysayers, critics, perseverance. You're going to struggle. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be glamorous. You know, it gets glamorous if someone wants to make a movie based on your books. Then it gets glamorous. But before, it's, you know, you don't make a lot of money in the beginning. A lot of people may tell you not to do it. And that's okay. You just got to believe in yourself, believe in your art, believe in your mind, believe in your heart, and keep going. No matter what, don't stop. Keep practicing. And even if you publish something and you get bad reviews, okay, why were the reviews bad? Look at your work. What did I do wrong? What can I improve? And then the next time, you make it better, but you don't stop. You keep going, you keep the faith, and just, you know, follow through and do it again and again and again until you get better and better. And even the most famous authors will tell you the same thing. You know, it's just you have to endeavor to persevere. Now, being an independent author is harder because, like me, you're a one-man show or one-woman show, and, you know, you're doing most of your things yourself. If you go with a publisher, or you want to go with a publisher, I guess I should say, consider a literary agent. Now, a lot of people don't talk about agents in a flattering light, but I will give them some respect in this. A literary agent is that kind of inside person that'll speak on your behalf. And if you're trying to approach publishers and go mainstream, you're going to need that. So think about it and try out for different agents and see who will take you. And then even after that, publishers are not nice. You know, nobody's going to be nice about it. They need to make money. They need to make money off your writing. I've had publishers reject my stuff. I take rejection in stride, you know, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And the truth is, in life, as in being a writer, not everybody's going to like you. And that's okay. You know, that's not against you. That's just you weren't a fit. And that's okay. Don't worry about that. Brush it off. Keep going. Endeavor to persevere. Um, but whether you are going to be an independent author or going to be through a publisher, um, keep that faith in yourself. Don't give up on yourself. And don't let anybody tell you what you have to write. Now, this is a big personal thing for me. Because when I started out, everybody wanted to tell me what I had to write. And everybody wanted to tell me what I can't write. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, everything I've written is something that I wanted to write. Because I had something to say, I had a story to tell, and there it is. You have to be that firm with yourself and that firm with others to succeed as a writer. Um, so, if you are a beginning writer, interested in becoming a writer, these are really the basic words of wisdom that I can give you. And the only other thing I can say is good luck and God bless. I am always available. t.n.verses@gmail.com or philipbarea@gmail.com. Email me if you need advice, if you have a question, if there's anything I can help you out with as a writer, ask me. I'm available. I'm happy to help. I've had people ask me to teach them how to be independently published, and I'm happy to do it. I'm even happy to review their stuff and help them set up what they need to set up. That's fine, because I believe in solidarity. You know, as I've said in the other videos, we talk about love, relationships, angst, fear, and I always say, we're in it together. Hey, as artists, we're in it together. As writers, we're in it together. So I'm here if you need me. Contact me. I'm happy to help. Okay, so those are my 2 cents for this week. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Maida, who I'm sure has a lot to say as well. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to say God bless. I love you guys. Have a good week, and write on.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Tea and Verses. My name is Maida, and thank you for joining us. Today, we are talking about a topic that is very, very near and dear to my heart. We are sharing our experience as writers. We are talking about writing. Writing is a task, a journey, a flight. What it is for me, what it means to me has changed over my lifetime. But my very first memory of finding that special joy in creating something with words was when I was first grade. It started with um, there was this book, a textbook, if you will, for first graders called Chitanka. I am from Bosnia. I grew up in former Yugoslavia. And this is the book that many generations used to, of children used to, learn how to read, get better at reading. And it had little stories, little passages, poems. So I remember this one poem. It was about a bird on a tree. It was lovely. It was cute. Like a lot of children, I loved animals. So it really struck me. It might have been the first poem I had ever read. First time reading something that actually rhymes. So I think that's what I liked as a child, and I remember trying to recreate something like that. And I ran to my mom and I said, "When I grow up, I want to be a poet." She laughed. She said, "You better find something else to do because you will be hungry and you will be poor." All of us know expression, starving artist. So that's probably what she was afraid about, and what she was referring to. At any rate, I do remember that I've always written something, little stories, little poems. But it's interesting. Recently, I spoke to one of my friends back home in Bosnia, and I was sharing something recently that I wrote. I was curious what she thought, and she laughed. She's like, "Oh my goodness, you have always been writing something." We grew up together. We've known each other since we were children, and it kind of tickled me that she remembered me as a writer, as somebody who has written all the time. Um, I sort of took it as a compliment, and made me feel like kind of validated that I'm on a right path, aspiring to be a writer, an author one day. Um, at any rate, yes, I've always written something, little stories, little poems. When I was a teenager, I was inspired by different artists who wrote romantic poetry. And during that time, we all start to get a little bit romantic. So I wrote a lot of that kind of stuff, but then I let it go. I came to this country, went to school, enjoyed my studies, got a job. Every now and then I would write something there and there, but nothing to a large extent. I just know that inspiration will strike me, and I will just write little pieces there and there. And as I started to go through some trials and tribulations in my life that tend to happen as we start to get a little bit older, become true adults, start to learn about ourselves. Um, Writing has always been this place where I would go to. Is this unique world that belonged to me, where I can truly be myself, where I can dig really, really deep within me and describe these experiences, these emotional turmoils, uh, using metaphors, symbolism, and things would just flow through me. And I did it just for myself, to express myself, to really see my emotions poured onto the paper. It became my way to heal and to connect with myself without any shame, without blame, without trying to please anybody else, follow anybody's rules, where I can really be free. So it became not just artistic expression, but a spiritual one as well. It became a way of healing myself. Little by little, I started to share some of my writing with my friends, um, and got some good feedback, good enough to make me start to take it a little bit more seriously, to really put my intention behind it, um, to really create a message of some sort that I can share with others, that could perhaps be helpful to others as they go through their lives' paths. um, to connect my artistic expression with the current world that we live in, to use my way with words to really pinpoint and describe what I feel the underlining lessons and messages are of everything that happens around us in this world. Um, Message about what is happening to me in my world, in my life, that is sort of universal, that resonates with others, that if I just find the right words to describe that, it just might encourage others to think about things differently, to think about their lives differently. So on one hand, I like creative writing, I like writing poetry, uh, but on the other hand, I have a little bit of an activist within me. I have a little bit of spiritual coach, if you will, within me, that just has come from living life and learning my own lessons, and describing them to myself and others with my words, through my spiritual connection and experience through these life um, events, chapters, messages, and lessons that I have learned. So, as many artists know, as many writers know, when inspiration strikes you, it's one of the most beautiful experiences in the world. Um, it's an experience of such a flow and truth and essence within you that when your work comes onto the paper or canvas or whatever it may be, a dance floor, um, you deliver, and then you look back and you wonder, where did this come from? Did this really come from me? Wow, I really got so lucky. I don't think I'll ever be able to do something like that again, because it came from within you. It comes through you. It comes from some other out there place and uses you as a vessel. There is no intellectual, or not much of an intellectual struggle or work to put it together. It just kind of comes out and through you. Um, then when you think about it logically and intellectually, you cannot find that place in yourself to say, that's where I got it. That's where it came from. So that's the pure joy of creation, the pure joy of writing, and pure joy of a child seeing their first sandcastle that they built by themselves, and laughing and running and looking at everybody else and asking them, did you see that? Did you see that? I did that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Um, and then trying to do something like that again on purpose, to impress yourself or to try to impress somebody else, or to get that feedback again because it's so addictive. It's such a high. It doesn't quite work that way, and that's what makes writing intimidating to me. Uh, this is why I dance around it, avoid it, and write little pieces there and there before I can actually make myself sit down and commit to develop something with more focus, with more, because I just I just never know if I will be able to do it well again. It really does seem to me like it comes from some other place. So I really thought about it. I really thought about this, and then I thought about life. I'm like, huh, it's just like anything else in life. When we just sort of let go and tune in, tune in with that true, real part of ourselves with peace, without force, without trying, when we know it's already there, that we just really need to channel it through and just do it for the creative process, for the juice that flows through you and oozes out of you. When we do it to enjoy the creative process that comes through us with an inspiration without trying. Yes, sure, it's difficult to do it that way when you have some sort of a deadline, of course, but what this told me is it it really taught me that it is a spiritual experience in a sense that when we connect to life and when we let go and try to join the flow of life through joy of just simply being there in a moment, inspiration comes and we come up with creative solutions in every area of our lives. And the same with art, the same with writing. I read somewhere that when somebody complimented Michelangelo on David that he created, I'm not saying it verbatim, but I'm remembering that I guess Michelangelo said something like, David was always there. I didn't create David. I just chiseled off the excess pieces, and there he was. So that's sort of how it is with writing, with creating anything. That you just come into your workspace, you leave your mind, your ego, your motives, other than those connecting you to your essence, to this pure channel of creating in life in general. Inspiration strikes you, and you just know what to do. You know where to go. Whether it's baking a cake, cooking, building a sandcastle, organizing your office, organizing the workflow in your work environment a little differently, trying something new, just trusting that inner guidance, teaching a class, um, mm, whatever it is, writing is no different. Our life is art. Our life is living a life is an art form. The constant fight between striving, pushing, forcing, and flowing. It's a balance between doing and at letting go. And it's an outlet. I read somewhere that if we don't allow ourselves some form of artistic expression in our lives, we do start to slowly die. It is very important. You do not have to be an artist, you don't have to be a painter or a writer or a sculptor or a dancer. This creative expression is very, very important for our heart and soul, for our mental and emotional health. This is why often art classes are suggested and used for healing, because it really allows us to calm down and connect with that mm, joyful part of ourselves, that enthusiastic part of ourselves that we lose when we cease to be children. And it is very, very important. So, again, I've always enjoyed playing with words, telling a story, describing something. But then, as I became an adult and lived some life, writing has become this empowering source of connecting with myself and then connecting with the world by trying to find this common denominator, a universal thread, a cord that binds us all together through my writing. Uh, it's pure joy, and I often have to remind myself that I want to keep it there. I write for myself. I write for whomever finds some joy in reading it, and I am just every single time just trying to deliver my David that is already there. I just have to chisel some roughness away. Um, yeah, it's a beautiful, scary, intimidating, yet healing avenue through which I gladly walk very, very often. And I would encourage everyone to try and tap in the place uh, within you that is still full of enthusiasm and joy, that the child in you that's still there, that freely creates with no ego, without trying to impress anybody, that stays in the moment and is in awe of little things that come through. Open that channel, open that door, open that gate. Let the child in you come through and help you get creative with life in any way you choose to do that. Still coming full circle, it's a spiritual experience that will allow you to bring creative solutions to every area of your life. It allows art creation, allows us to be in a moment, to take a step back, and to be able to notice what really is important in our lives. I hope what I shared Gave you some inspiration, something to think about. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Um, let us know how we're doing. Send us questions, comments. Let's be here and now. And let's find some creative solutions. Thank you and good night.